Shouldn't you be helping more around the house? If this is the kind of spouse you're going to be, maybe you should just leave. My mother-in-law snapped, her tone cutting and her gaze sharp. The sting of her words hit me hard. Beside her, my sister-in-law chimed in dismissively. You always look so exhausted but never seem to get anything done. Overwhelmed, I turned to Matthew, my husband, desperate for support. This is too much. Don't you think your mom and sister are being really harsh? I asked, searching for a glimmer of understanding in his eyes. Instead, his blunt response left me breathless. I agree with them, he said flatly. I'm swamped with work, and it's becoming a problem that you're not helping more at home. Things are going well with the new part-time worker at the café, and frankly, you're just slowing us down. Maybe you should find somewhere else to stay. Stunned, I felt the weight of their judgment bearing down on me. My chest tightened with anger, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. I need some time to think, I managed to say before retreating to collect my thoughts. My name is Lori, and I'm 35 years old. I've always taken pride in balancing my job and household duties. It's common for women to work after marriage, and I love my job. I've worked hard to excel at the company I joined right out of college, but lately, everything feels like it's falling apart. One morning, as I was getting ready for work, Matthew approached me with a file full of receipts and bills. Lori, can you take care of this? You should get the cafe's finances in order, he said. Trying to lighten the mood, I smiled and replied, sorry, I'm not good with that stuff. Matthew and I met years ago when he worked part-time at a cafe I frequented. After a few conversations, we started dating, and eventually, we got married. Now, he owns the cafe. Despite his success in running the business, he struggles with paperwork, often relying on me to handle it. As I sighed, my mother-in-law called out from the kitchen, Lori, I'm craving Chinese food tonight. Can you rinse the rice well? Oh, and Denise and the kids are coming this weekend, so we'll need to plan their meals. Sure, I understand, I replied automatically, nodding as I grabbed my things and rushed out the door. I was eager to escape the ever-mounting pressure at home. When Matthew suggested we move in with his mom, claiming she was lonely in her big house, I thought it might bring us closer as a family. Instead, it only made things worse. His mother, still adjusting to life after my father-in-law's passing, relied heavily on his pension and spent most of it dining out or ordering takeout. Domestic responsibilities fell squarely on my shoulders. Matthew, with his traditional views, assumed housework was my duty. I juggled everything, cleaning, cooking, and managing household chores. But things took a turn for the worse when his sister Denise, freshly divorced, announced she'd be moving in with her kids. Lori, I'm getting divorced and moving back here with the kids next month, she said one day, her tone matter-of-fact. I hesitated, trying to mask my shock. Really? That must have been tough. When are you moving? As soon as possible, she replied. I naively thought Denise's presence might ease my workload. Maybe she'd pitch in, and we'd build a stronger bond, but reality hit me like a freight train. Denise was just as resistant to housework as her mother. She spent her days lounging on the couch, snacks in hand, glued to the TV. My workload grew exponentially. On top of my full-time job, I now prepared meals for Denise's kids, packed their lunches for kindergarten, and managed an ever-expanding list of tasks. At work, things weren't any easier. My responsibilities increased, requiring me to work long hours and overtime. When I finally came home, the cluttered, chaotic living space drained whatever energy I had left. The criticism never stopped. Is dinner ready yet? Why are you home so late? Their words became daily reminders of my supposed inadequacies. One night, my mother-in-law's voice cut through the din. Lori, there's a mountain of laundry waiting. Don't use your busyness as an excuse to slack off. Inside, I was screaming, I'm trying my best, but I held my tongue. Before I could reply, Denise added, standing up to your mother-in-law is bold, Lori, but for the kids' sake, maybe try harder to make homemade meals. Her words felt like a slap. Exhausted, I finally retorted, if you have so much free time, why don't you help with the chores once in a while? Even Matthew's sister had the audacity to joke, haha, since Matthew owns a cafe, Lori doesn't need to work, right? Maybe she should try harder at home. Their constant remarks stacked up, suffocating me under the weight of their expectations. One night, at my breaking point, I knew something had to change. I decided it was time to speak up to Matthew. I've been incredibly busy lately, and neither your mother nor your sister is helping with the chores. It's really hard, I said, hoping for some understanding. Matthew's reaction was sharp. Lori, you're not speaking ill of our family, are you? He asked, his tone hardening. Steadying myself, I clarified, that's not my intention, but it's challenging to handle everything on my own. If you could help out occasionally, it would make things easier for me. He responded dismissively, I'm busy managing the store. It's not like a regular job. Housework is the wife's responsibility, right? Disappointed by his lack of support, I sat alone afterward, feeling a mixture of frustration and helplessness. Then, a spark of determination ignited within me. I'm not going to let this be the way it is, I thought. With a small but resolute fist pump, I grabbed my phone, opened my favorite online shopping app, and started adding essential items to my cart. By the time I finished my purchases, I felt a small victory, an act of control amidst the chaos. That night, I went to bed with a sense of accomplishment, ready to face whatever came next. A few days later, my eagerly awaited delivery arrived, transforming my routine. It included a state-of-the-art washing machine, a robotic vacuum capable of navigating every corner of our home, and a rice cooker that promised perfect rice with minimal effort. Each item felt like a lifeline, offering relief and making daily life just a bit easier. As I set up the new washing machine, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law walked in, their expressions a mix of surprise and curiosity. Wow, Lori, you got such a fancy washing machine. The old one still worked, didn't it? My mother-in-law asked, her tone laced with skepticism. I met her gaze with a calm smile, unbothered by her judgment, and continued setting up the new appliance. It felt like a small, silent victory over the pressures I'd been facing. The old one was getting slow, and this new one can do the laundry much faster, I replied evenly. Their attention quickly shifted to the robotic vacuum and new kitchen gadgets. I've updated these too, I said, showing them with a hint of pride. These appliances, everything from the cleaning robot to the convenient cooking gadgets, were now my allies in managing the household more efficiently. Lori, can we talk for a moment? My mother-in-law's voice had a sharp edge as she beckoned me into another room. I followed, sensing a confrontation brewing. Once we sat down, the tension between us was palpable. Why did you buy so many things? She asked coldly. Do you really need all these new appliances? Or is it just to make your life easier? I tried to remain composed. I thought it would help things run smoother around the house, I explained, choosing my words carefully, but I could feel the simmering discontent. Aren't we relying too much on machines? She countered, her tone sharp. My sister-in-law, standing by, waved her hand dismissively, signaling her agreement. Despite their resistance, I held my ground. The appliances we had were outdated. Matthew's busy with his store, and I thought being more efficient at home would help everyone, I said firmly. Matthew nodded, his expression neutral. Maybe we should be more frugal, he suggested, his voice carrying a subtle reproach. My frustration bubbled up. but I kept my tone even. Maybe you're right, I conceded quietly, though inside, I was fuming. The conversation escalated quickly. Are you even considering our household needs? My mother-in-law snapped. I am, I said, feeling cornered, but I'm just really exhausted. That's enough, my mother-in-law barked, her voice filled with disbelief. I can't believe you're our daughter-in-law, my sister-in-law added, her expression dripping with disdain. I'll watch over Matthew. We don't need someone like you here. I looked to Matthew, hoping for some support, but he offered none. Instead, he gave a cold, dismissive response. I understand what Mom and Sis are saying, he muttered, trailing off into uncomfortable silence. A chill lingered in the air as they left the room. I sat there, the weight of their judgment pressing down on me. Despite their harsh words, my resolve only grew stronger. The appliances I'd bought weren't just necessary for managing the household, they were necessary for my sanity. Later that evening, Matthew delivered the final blow. With a cold smile, he said, I have my store, so I decide how to spend my money. Being with someone who spends without thinking might be too hard for me. His words stung, but I kept my composure, silently counting to 12 before responding. He continued with a cruel edge in his voice. Also, I've noticed things have been going well with the new part-time girl at the store. She's more attractive than you are now. Maybe it's time for you to find a new place to live. A wave of anger surged within me, but I held it back. I took a deep breath and calmly said, all right, I'll look for a new home. Finally, you understand, he replied smugly. I'll feel much better without you around. That night, Matthew signed the divorce papers, and I left, carrying nothing but the essentials and the divorce papers in hand. No one tried to stop me. As I stepped out into the night, I felt a strange mix of sadness and liberation. While their coldness had wounded me deeply, I also knew I was finally free. After finalizing the divorce at the city office, I found a stylish apartment and began my life anew. Around the same time, an unexpected opportunity came my way, a promotion to section manager, a role I had previously postponed due to family obligations. I embraced this new chapter with enthusiasm, pouring my energy into work and rediscovering a sense of purpose. One busy day, my phone buzzed, displaying my former mother-in-law's name. Surprised, I dismissed the call, assuming we had nothing more to discuss. I didn't check the voicemail. My new life had started, and I had no intention of looking back. A year passed, and one quiet weekend, as I enjoyed my favorite playlist, my phone rang again. This time, curiosity got the better of me. I answered cautiously. Hello? Is something wrong? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. Lori, I finally got through, she said, her voice tinged with unease. I didn't think you'd answer after so many calls. What's going on? I replied. She hesitated before finally asking, how's your new life? It's great, I said cheerfully, masking any residual tension. I love my new apartment. Work is going well, and I even got a promotion. I'm really enjoying the freedom. That's good, she replied hesitantly. Then, with a wavering voice, she added, Lori, can you come back home? Taken aback, I asked, why? She sighed, her tone heavy with defeat. We're struggling financially. I wasn't surprised. Matthew's Café is only bringing in about $22,000 a month, right? If no one else is working, that's tough to manage, I said pointedly. You knew? She asked, astonished. Yes, I handled all the accounting. Matthew liked to pretend the business was thriving, but I knew the truth. There was silence on the other end before she admitted. We had no idea you were doing so much, or that you contributed so much to the household. Yes, I said calmly. I covered over $55,000 a month in expenses. That's how everything stayed afloat. Without that, things must be difficult. Her voice cracked. Please, Lori, come back. We need you. How's the cafe now? I asked, already suspecting the answer. We might have to close soon. Employees keep quitting, and sales have dropped, she confessed. Matthew's management style wasn't exactly sustainable, I remarked. There was a pause before she admitted, I never realized how hard housework was. With 3 adults in the house, everything feels chaotic. Matthew has been sulking at home, and Denise refuses to help. She even takes her allowance from me. Living on my pension is unbearable. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. You'll have to figure out your own way forward. I have no intention of going back. Please, Lori, she begged. We're in real trouble. The property taxes alone might force us out of the house. I'm sorry, but I'm not returning to that life, I said firmly, ending the call and blocking her number. That evening, I sat in my cozy apartment, savoring a cup of aromatic coffee while gazing at the skyline. A spontaneous smile crossed my face. Months later, I passed by the cafe. It was shuttered, the once busy spot now an empty shell. While wandering the old neighborhood, I noticed a sold sign outside my former in-laws' house. A chance encounter with a neighbor confirmed my suspicions. They had sold the house and moved into a cramped apartment. Rumors of loud arguments and a garbage issue had made them local gossip. As I looked at the old house, I felt a mix of nostalgia and relief. They could have done better if they'd tried harder. Since then, life has been full of surprises. A handsome coworker confessed his admiration for my hard work, and we've been dating for the first time in a long while. I'm genuinely excited about the future. If I ever marry again, it will be for real happiness. With that thought, a sense of hope filled me as I embraced the life I had built for myself.